aftermath edition of the Orange Crush podcast. I want to thank Newton Scott and Associates for continuing to sponsor this podcast. Usually we've been doing this in the fall, David, but look behind you. We're at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. It's Selection Monday. Clemson has figured out who they're playing and when they're playing, starting on Friday at 6 p.m. on the ACC network against USC Upstate, a team that Clemson has seen before. David, first impressions of this regional, no SEC powerhouse like Tennessee to creep around.
Well, first of all, let me say happy Memorial Day to everybody. I hope everybody remembers the reason that we celebrate Memorial Day. A lot of people that I know, they have loved ones who have given all for this country. So everybody, enjoy your Memorial Day, but remember why we celebrate it. Absolutely. Kentucky comes in 28-23 record. West Virginia not hitting the ball quite as well as they did earlier in the year. They come off of a big loss in the Big 12 tournament. But, of course, Clemson's first opponent, they may not play either one of those teams, is the USC Upstate. Tigers beat them 7-0 here, well, at Fluor Field a little bit earlier in the year. As you put in the regional article, then they go and run roll NC State, a team that Clemson just beat but got swept by up in Raleigh. That's an Upstate team. The Spartans, they can swing the bats. And Eric Bakich, the head coach, a little coy. Would he start Aiden Canuck against the Spartans? Would he go Drew Titsworth? Would he try and take a chance? Would he save Aiden Canuck for the West Virginia-Kentucky winner? We don't know, but that's the fun of postseason baseball.
And he had a little speech as the selection show sort of winded up. The players were ready to get out of there and enjoy Memorial Day, probably a day on the lake if weather holds, and said, we are just going to be focused on USC Upstate. Anyone who talks to the media, a.k.a. us, going, we're not going to talk about LSU, the super regional pairing. We're not going to talk about West Virginia, Kentucky. We're just going to focus on the task ahead. And I think that's the mentality they've kept in these last few weeks post-Duke, where they've played some of their best baseball, except obviously for the ACC Championship, where they got smoked and thrashed, all the words, against North Carolina. They end up earning a national seed. Makes you think
well-deserved.
Tigers were probably on the door of maybe being cracked into those top 8. Only one ACC school in the top 8. Do you have any direction on how the bracket was shaped out, the national seeds?
Look, I think Coastal Carolina, and I get it. Maybe the RPI is not as strong as other people. That's a product of their league. I thought Coastal Carolina really deserved to be an 8 seed. LSU a 6 seed. Of course, Clemson matched up there. North Carolina, maybe Florida State. Look, I know that they had some of their issues. Maybe they could have been a national seed. They were really up until this last week. I think they were as high as number 5 about a week ago. So the ACC getting some teams in, some teams maybe Virginia getting left out that were on the bubble. But I think the committee did a lot right. Clemson 11, about where they probably should be right now. I do think Coastal Carolina got hosed a little bit. I think they should have been an 8.
Yeah, I think they're the few teams that you cut to all the different. I think that's what makes selection Monday, Sunday, especially with basketball, baseball, so fun, is you see all these different schools on maybe less than ideal Zoom connections trying to celebrate. They had one team that their celebration was cut into frames. It was like we were watching like a pixel type of thing. But the only two teams that I didn't see a lot of happiness with was NC State and, of course, Georgia Tech, where at the semifinals after the Clemson game in Durham, very strongly believed, whether you ask the coaches or the players, they felt like they deserved to be one of the 16 hosts after winning the ACC regular season title, and they're a 2 seed in their bracket.
Yeah, the non-conference schedule, not great. The non-conference RPI, not great. Strength of schedule kind of hurt them a little bit. Yes, regular season ACC champion, but then they get knocked out by Clemson in the ACC tournament. And so you go back and you look at it, that game against Clemson was probably for a host spot, right? Maybe if Clemson loses, do they get knocked down to 15-16? Do they not host? Then Georgia Tech gets in. We'll never know. But Clemson with, I think, 9-4 victory over the Yellow Jackets, they get the 11th seed. They get to host Georgia Tech. Look, but if you're good enough, it doesn't matter where you play. You can win on the road. You can win at home. And now Clemson gets to be at home for now. For now, we will see if it would go into a super regional, of course. How does that work? Well, if LSU was to lose their regional to somebody else, then that other team would come to Clemson, provided that Clemson wins its regional.
Before we get back to this video, we'd like to thank the title sponsor for this podcast, Newton Scott and Associates. This team is headlined by Jeff Scott, former Clemson assistant coach and two-time national champion, as well as Eric Newton, a longtime local and trusted real estate partner. These two are teaming up to provide a first-class experience for all Clemson fans. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or build in the upstate area of South Carolina, you can trust Newton, Scott, and Associates. Choose the same team that Clemson coaches are selecting when they're looking to buy, sell, or build, all the way from Tigertown to Lake Keowee. For more information, you can find them at newtonscottsc.com or by calling the number 864-722-9062. That's 864-722-9062. Now, let's get back to the video.
So, it's all ahead of us. We've got a big week ahead. We'll probably have more interviews on Thursday. Clemson plays on Friday. And then how funny is it? We just saw Kentucky and Upstate over at McWhorter Stadium, right?
A little bit of deja vu here. And for Clemson, that Durham trip, the Pittsburgh series, it's funny how much 2 weeks can change about the perception of a team where it felt like they got what they came for. Obviously, you try to wash away a pretty bad loss to North Carolina. But I think at that point, you sort of internally realize the objective was to get postseason baseball back in Doug Kingsmore. And they're going to do that starting on Friday night, and we'll be here with it. David, any final thoughts before we wrap up this aftermath?
Yeah, just so people will know, Eric Bakich talked a little bit about injuries. Of course, we know Tristan Becerra, McClatty, I think they probably not going to be back this year from everything that we've heard. But Reed Garris did a bullpen session up in Durham. They think they're going to have him back. We know Justin Lagernick went out and pitched 2 1/3 or 2 2/3 really good innings up in Durham. Looks like he's ready to go. Bakich says Ethan Darden, they thought he might be ready to go in Durham. They decided not to throw him out there. He could be ready to go here. I don't think Gillen is going to be much of a factor. I think he's not going to be back. But the Tigers getting some good news. If you can get Reed Garris back, that takes some of the pressure off of Lucas Malstedt at the back end of that bullpen. And then you get Darden and Lagernick going. Talon Bell has been pitching well. Now all of a sudden this pitching staff lengthened out a little bit.
Just a bit, and that matters so much. Even one piece can be the ultimate deciding factor in a tight matchup. Maybe it's a game 4 for Clemson in the regional where a couple innings from Darden may be the thing that seals the deal for this group to potentially preview football season a little early with LSU. We'll be there all for it. Guys, this was the aftermath. If you guys remember back from the fall, thank you so much for subscribing. I want to thank Newton Scott Associates. We want to thank Herb Tyler and Chick-fil-A for their continued support. Guys, thank you as always. Stay tuned for more throughout the week, and take care.